Hello everyone and welcome to the first look. Today we'll look at the Canpur CP74E IM. Now this is the 7BA 4 electrostat version of the Canpur IM. This is the universal and this is the smaller brother of its 622B, which is a little bit more expensive. Now this particular IM here is loaned to me by Jaben. Thanks to them, they just say, have a try at it. If I like it, I can actually purchase it, but no obligations there. So let's have a first listen of this IM, compare it with another IM I have, which is the Radon 6. It's slightly more expensive, but it's at least a good comparison. And then I'll give you my final thoughts of the Canpur CP74E. Without wasting time, let's take a look at the physical part of things before we hear some music. Let's take a close-up look at the CP74E. Now this is really beautiful. I mean, the faceplate is really shiny, really beautiful, and it has depth to it. So what a nicer faceplate I ever seen on EIM. I'm not sure whether is this some rocks that have 3D or some special pattern. Really beautiful here. Now the IM itself is a 2-pin connector. I can show you here, and this is a relatively flush one, so you can use most cables without really needing I would say as a recessed or a connector with an extended rectangular head, but you can actually use most other connectors, no issues there. Now, if you look at the nozzle, this is a mid-sized nozzle to me. Not too big, not too small. It has a lip. You can see there's a small little lip at the side, and it has a mesh in front, so it will be easy to clean up. Now, you can actually fit most, I'll say as tips onto the IM without any issue, as you can see here. Now, this set here is a demo set, as you can see, CP74E demo. So this is a very nice set if you ask me in terms of its workmanship and looks itself. Now when it comes to the cable, this is the cable that came with it when I requested to demo this item. This is an Elitech cable. It looks like a pure copper cable. So the price wise, not too sure. But at least they come with a branded cable, so it will reduce your tendency to go and upgrade it, which I don't really think you need to, because it looks pretty good and feels really good and sounds pretty good too. So without wasting time, let's take a good listen to the IM itself and have a first impression. So I've listened to the first song, my first impression of the CP74E. I use Aino Akuruhi from Edo, and I'll say the IM is beautiful. Now I feel that with this particular song, what I think is that this IM is a very mid-centric IM. It makes vocals really sweet, really smooth and nice. Good amount of clarity, yet still having some good body. Now, from what I hear so far, I don't think that there is much, I would say, as quantity in terms of its bass. There is good amount of treble. The bass just feel kind of more of the average side if you compare to many IEMs out there, but the quality, the clarity, and the really smoothness of the mids are just beautiful for the CP74E. And the piano, which is also in this particular song, is very clear, very clean, and it sounds very accurate too. Now soundstage wise, it feels a little bit smaller. It feels, I would say, as average kind of soundstage, considering the price itself is very average. So not a big sound IM, but really beautiful for its mids itself. Now that is for the first song. Let's hear the second one, and then I'll give you guys more feedback on the IM. Now with the song Heartbeat from YOASOBI, it really kind of confirms how I feel about this IM. The mids are really beautiful, the vocals are really nice, pianos have this very nice like warm tone to it that is very smooth and beautiful. Overall, I think that the mids are what makes this IM kind of special to me. Now the bass wise, there are bass in this particular track itself. It's a good bass, but probably not something that will make me sit up and take notice. Now there is some treble instrument, a little bit of the bells and stuff in this particular track, but when I hear it, it doesn't feel like it's hot, doesn't feel like it's sibilant, doesn't feel like it's also very sparkly or exciting. So overall, I do think that this is a very mid-centric IEM. Now there is still 2 more songs. I will do some comparison just to make sure that I cover especially the bass and treble. I will try another song now with bass and treble with comparison with another IEM. So I've heard this song Backlight from Vonday itself, and this particular track played on both these IEM sounds drastically different. Now first, the CP74E is definitely more mid-centric. It feels like the vocals are more upfront, more filled up, and a lot more body in the vocal itself. The Radon, on the other hand, feels a bit more I would say as a step back significantly for the vocals itself, and can be a little bit thin sounding if you compare it to the CP74E. The CP74E just feels very filled up for the vocals. It's kind of like Vonday is going to come in front of your face and start screaming, while the Radon 6 is like watching a rock concert far away. So that's really the difference when it comes to the mid rendition. Now when it comes to the bass rendition, I do think that the quantity of bass wise, depending on how you level this song, let's say if I was to level it to the, I would say as a equivalence or near equivalence in terms of its vocal regions, then I would say as the Radon 6 has a lot more bass. But let's say if I was to lift the volume up till I feel like it is very similar in loudness, then I would say as the bass on the Radon 6 feel a bit more textured. There just feels a bit more quantity, but it's not like significantly more. While the CP74E, yes, there is good amount of impact, but I feel that the texture is a bit lacking and the total quantity is slightly lesser than the Radon 6. So that is for bass. Now for the treble instrument, I think that the Radon 6 is way more exciting. It feels also slightly more extended. The CP74E feels a bit more rounded off, but there is still good amount of highs and it makes the higher mids quite exciting. The Radon 6 actually sounds a bit more relaxed on the higher mids, but when it comes to the treble instrument itself, the Radon 6 does have a little bit more, I'll say, zing to it, while the 74E feels a bit more rounded off there. So that's really the difference here. Soundstage wise, the Radon 6 is bigger, and the feel when it comes to like, atmosphere, the ambience, I'll say that the Radon 6 does have a little bit more. But if you are looking at absolute clarity, then I would say as the CP74E feels more clear, even though Radon 6 is extracting significantly more details. I heard many part of this song when there is like small little instruments, or like say the bass guitar is playing, or the strumming of electronic musics instrument, you can hear it much more clearly on the Radon 6 versus the CP74E. Now this is of course the first song comparison. Let's hear the second one. Now with the second song, Ibarra, I'll have to say once again, it is quite similar to what my experience was in the previous song. The CP74E just feels more mid-centric to me. The vocals are a little bit more smoother and more bodied, but everything else is kind of lesser. The bass wise, there is a lot of the bass, I'll say, in this particular track. When I hear the CP74E, it just doesn't feel like there's much texture there. The mids have no issues, very clear, a lot of things are there. But when it comes to the bass, the texture-wise, the Radon 6 just has more texture itself. And when it comes to the highs, very similar. There is highs in the CP74E, especially on the mid-highs, plenty of them. But when it comes to the high highs, the zing, the spiciness, all not there, it's a bit more rounded off. The Radon gives you that a little bit more extension and give you a little bit more air in the voice. So, if you really want to compare in terms of the voicing, especially for the mids, I would say as the Radon 6 has that extended air on top, while the CP74E is just this full-bodied sound in the mids itself. Now, when it comes to the soundstage, the CP74E definitely is a smaller soundstage compared to the Radon 6. And when it comes to the overall dynamics, I would say as the CP74E, if the dynamics are in the mids, is very good, but if the dynamics are to spread from the lows to the highs, I would say as the Radon 6 is significantly better in that perspective. And just one last thing I also want to comment is that when it comes to clarity, yes, the CP74E feels a lot clearer, especially in the mids, compared to the Radon 6. That's only for the mids. But when you actually examine the track, when you look at the details, like the clapping, the background instruments, the small little things that happen behind, the strumming of bass guitars, the Radon 6 is just better than the CP74E. Overall, I just have to say that the CP74E is a very mid-centric IEM. If you are looking to have very nice, sweet voice, very beautiful mids, very full-bodied mids, the CP74E will deliver it for you. But if you are looking anything beyond the mids, however, I do feel that CP74E is a touch lacking there. And it does mean that at this price point, if you are looking for a vocal specialized IEM, the CP74E, no issues. Very, very damn good. But if you are looking for a jack of all trades, the CP74E, personally, my feel is that it will suffice if you haven't heard any of the IEM before. But if you're going to pay $4,000 for it, there are probably IEMs that feels a little bit more, I would say, as balanced throughout and therefore can listen to a larger genre of music without feel like you are lacking anything here. Now, even though I say that way, this is still a good IEM, a really good IEM. If this was heard alone like I have in my first two impressions, I think it's beautiful, especially for vocal-centric tracks. Yes, soundstage isn't that big, but it is like not tiny. And overall clarity is really good as long as it remains in the mids region. But once you go beyond those things that I have said so far, that is good for the CP74E, there are probably IEMs at this price point that can deliver a little bit better, a little bit more, and therefore you should actually try out before you commit to this particular IEM. Now, if you are into vocals, especially male or female, doesn't matter. I feel like for vocals, both of the male-female genre, this is really, really damn good. And if your instruments all lie mainly in the mids, like hearing piano tracks, really nice too. But if you are going for high dynamics, I don't think that this is the best one for you. That's about it for today. I hope you enjoy my short little first look of the CP74E from Canpur. Very specialized IEM based on my experience, and if you fall within those category, fantastic buy. That's about it. I'll see you guys again. Bye bye.